This is really good. You should listen to this. In 2006, Big Finish gave us a spin-off about the Dalek curator, Davros. Davros is a series of 4 audio dramas about the early days of Davros leading up to his first appearance in Genesis of the Daleks. Yep, I mention it again, I can't help it, I love that story. All 4 stories begin with a monologue from Davros, recalling these events to the Daleks. It's kinda similar to the trial scenes from Trial of a Time Lord, but not as excessive. The main narrative is set on Skaro over the course of a few decades, detailing Davros' rise to power, from being a teenager to a maniacal creator. The callous nature of the Khalid race during their centuries-old war with the Thals is one of the central themes here. Terry Molloy revels as Davros in this, proving time and time again that this is one of the most evil beings in all sci-fi. This is some of the coldest line deliveries I've ever heard in Doctor Who. The lore building in these stories is something which I think is amazing, and it adds so much to what we've seen in the TV show, such as Varga plants, Mutos, and the Khalid mutations before they eventually become Daleks. The most captivating thing is learning more about the Khalid people, learning about where Davros came from, and what drove him to become the villain we all know. The story titles, Innocence, Purity, Corruption, and Guilt are a brief but effective way of describing what Davros is all about. As such, his family life is explored in fine detail. His father, Nazgard, wants him to join the military. His mother, Calcula, is a politician, and a devious one at that. His sister, Yarvel, is a pacifist who wants peace between the Khalids and Thals. She despises Davros' way of life, causing a lot of unrest between the siblings. There's also members of the Khalid race who often stab each other in the back. You've got Davros' tutor, Magratine, who has a dark past, and he is a very tragic character. Quested, who is someone who Calcula had an affair with. There's the Supremo, who is in charge of Davros, and he's also in charge of the military operations to try and infiltrate the Thal base. He's just so untrustworthy. There's Davros' co-scientist, Shan, who he has a weird romance with. Then there's the biggest weasel of them all, Nyder. The fact that Peter Miles comes back to this role seamlessly after 31 years is a testament to how great he was, and why Nyder is one of Doctor Who's best henchmen, if not the best. The characters across all 4 stories are so engaging. The performances by all involved are so gripping because no one is really redeemable here, but each of their motivations were valid. It's very believable that these people are the ancestors of the Daleks. It was cool to hear how Davros ended up in his chair, how Nyder ends up assisting him, and why Davros ends up being in the position we see him in come Genesis. This series delivers many answers, and it's so satisfying to listen to, despite the bleak tone. However, since this released quite a while ago, a familiar elephant has entered the room. I'm sorry, Whovians. It's that word again. The release of the minisode Destination Skaro in 2023 screws up the continuity of the Davros spin-off. Davros, depicted here before his crippling accident, has invented the Mark III travel machine, aka the first Dalek. But in Davros, he created the Mark I after the accident. Whoops! The last story in Davros also depicts how Davros met Nyder. Again, at this point in his timeline, it's been some time since he was confined to his chariot. A voice which sounds very much like Nyder can be heard on the intercom in Destination Skaro. You could argue that it isn't Nyder, but it's the Supremo. I myself believed it was Nyder, because the problem is, I watched this before I went back to listen to Davros. Therefore, the Doctor Who canon is ruptured once again. Even the 14th Doctor thinks so.
The timelines of the canon are rupturing. I'm just gonna go.
As he inadvertently invents the Dalek name, even though it's Davros who does so using ancient Khalid dialect. Suffice to say, this sucks. Does it completely ruin my enjoyment?
No.
but it certainly taints it slightly. It makes me question whoever is in charge of the continuity. It frustrates me that time and time again, the Big Finish continuity seems to get totally obliterated due to certain events taking place in the TV show. Look at Mary Shelley meeting Cybermen. Look at Ace meeting the Master in Dust Breeding. It's funny how a minisode from 2023 can obliterate Big Finish continuity, made painstakingly by multiple writers for Davros. Yet in 2013, there was a minisode which canonised the 8th Doctor's Big Finish companions. What the actual